Okay, recording. All right, good evening. Welcome to Beaches Watch, our first meeting of the new 2021 year. Tonight we have the State of the Beaches reports, where we will hear from our three beaches mayors, Mayor Chris Hoffman from Jacksonville Beach, Mayor Elaine Brown from Neptune Beach, and Mayor Ellen Glasser from Atlantic Beach. As always, this is a very informative session and one of our most popular attended meetings, so we look forward to an informative session. Before we get started with the meeting, I just want to give you, just make some announcements. I'm Maria Mark, the Beaches Watch President and your host for this evening's meeting. As always, our meetings are videoed, are recorded, so if you happen to miss it tonight, you will be able to tune in on our website tomorrow and see the meeting and what you missed. So we encourage you to do that and let your friends and neighbors know who were also not able to attend tonight. Our Beaches Watch membership is always in full force, so it's time to renew or join for 2021. The memberships are $15 for individual, $20 for families, and $5 for students. The membership is yearly, starting in January through December. And if you go on beacheswatch.com, you can see what your membership supports, like our Flann Sharp Memorial Scholarship for Fletcher High School students, our Give Back Award, our Friend of the Beaches Award, and to bring our community meetings like this to you. City Council meeting dates have been changed due to Martin Luther King holiday. So Jacksonville Beach City Council will be held Tuesday, January 19 at 6 p.m. and Neptune Beach City Council meeting will be held Tuesday, January 19th at 6 p.m. as well. A couple of workshops are coming up. We have the Atlantic Beach Commission Priority Setting Visioning Workshop that will be held Thursday, January 21 at 5 p.m. in the Atlantic Beach Commission Chamber. And the Atlantic Beach Commission meeting and the Complete Streets Workshop will also be held on Monday, January 25th at 6:30 p.m. This will also be held in the Atlantic Beach Commission Chamber. Our meeting coming up in February will be with the Florida League of Cities, where they discuss the 2021 legislative priorities in protecting home rule. Our guest speaker will be Scott Dudley with the Florida League of Cities. He's the Director of Field Advocacy. So be sure to tune in for that. That's February 3 at 7 p.m. We will be monitoring the chat box, so please type in any questions or comments you may have for the panelists. We will hold the Q&A after the three presentations from our mayors. So we will be monitoring the chat box throughout the meeting. So without further ado, we will go ahead and start with the presentations. We will have Mayor Chris Hoffman from the City of Jacksonville Beach. Welcome, Mayor Hoffman.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone who's jumped on to this Zoom today. Let me do the fun part of getting my screen shared. Okay, can everybody see my screen all right? I'm going to assume no response is a good response. So thank you. I am Mayor Chris Hoffman from Jacksonville Beach, and I'm delighted to go first because that means I don't have to go up against the expectations set by my colleagues. This is the fancy thing that I have in my presentation, and I'd like to give credit to Jacob Board, our communications manager at the City of Jacksonville Beach. So it's our South Jacksonville Beach water tower, and you can see that logo or the artwork there of the lifeguard chair throughout the presentation and also on my shirt here, if you can see that. So the other thing I wanted to show along with that water tower is this historic image up against the current image of Jacksonville Beach from that almost the same vantage point. I also run the Beaches Museum, so I get to take a look at the historical perspective of our beaches communities quite frequently. And this one just is really telling. It's from the 1950s up against a photograph from the past year or so since we painted that water tower. To start off with, we just got through, as we did as a country and communities here, the November election, where we elected 3 new city council members, and I was elected as mayor, although I'd previously served on the city council. So we installed our new members on November 16th, and we thanked and bid farewell to Councilmember Vogelsang, Doherty, and Mayor Latham. The council now consists of 3 members who are getting their headshots on Tuesday, Councilmember Meza, Jansen, and Stokes, and they join Corey Nichols, Georgette Dumont, and Sandy Golding, who are the district representatives on the council for Jacksonville Beach. Corey Nichols was elected mayor pro tem by the council members on November 16th at that same meeting. Also on that election, you may remember hearing about the charter amendments, and all of those amendments did pass. The other significant thing that happened on election day was that the first woman mayor of Jacksonville Beach was elected, and now that makes all 3 beaches mayors, all 3 are women, which was significant enough to be picked up by a couple news channels, which was fun. And as you'll see tonight, we're all here. And then a couple things that have happened around Jacksonville Beach over the past year. I don't think anybody missed Whole Foods opening. That happened back in October. And again, being with the Beaches Museum, I'm very proud that we had some historical images along front of Whole Foods that you can see there. Those came from the Beaches Museum archives. Also, it's worth noting that Native Sun reopened in Jacksonville Beach last year. They had closed all of their locations prior to that, but then they reopened the Jacksonville Beach location. So it is really great to have both of these additional options in our beaches communities. We also have Margaritaville that will be opening up soon. We don't have an exact date, but I did go on to their booking program and saw that the earliest that you could book a room there was Friday, February 12th. And take a look at that rate, $459 per night to stay in Jacksonville Beach. So it'll be fun to see that come online, and it's been exciting to watch that develop in our community. Another big project that was going on for the past few years was the A1a Drainage Project. This was a FDOT project that was aimed at improving the drainage across most of North Jacksonville Beach on 3rd Street. You can see on the map there the area that was impacted. So if you live in North Jacksonville Beach, you probably got used to a lot of detours, and there were a lot of different construction areas. And this project included replacing 5 bridges. It cleared out and made a box culvert, added sheet pilings, and improved erosion control throughout the drainage at the beaches. So this helps all of the beaches, and it's a really significant project, and it should help us going forward with drainage throughout the beaches. And then Pendon Road, and I will give a lot of credit to Sandy Golding, who's been really bird dogging this for us. Pendon Road has been identified as a big area that needs some improvements, needs some pedestrian, bicyclist safety improvements. So far we've installed one of the RRFB areas. So you can cross safely over Penman Road by turning on one of these signals. And the second one is, I believe, in progress. I don't think it's done yet, but it's on its way. And then something else, this wasn't done by the city. Oh, let me go back to Penman Road. That is a county road. So we are having to work with Jacksonville to make sure that we get those improvements budgeted for in the county budget. Then we have the Waves Project, which is a Jacksonville Housing Authority project. And this was a $30 million improvement to the affordable housing area in Jacksonville Beach. So this was all of the 2-story buildings that were previously there were torn down and actually replaced with new, more modern looking buildings that fit fit the look and feel of the community a little bit better, and then had some more amenities like paved parking, dryers, things like that, that the previous units did not have. So those are already starting to be occupied, and they are still taking applications for those units. Something else significant that you probably saw in the news was that Jacksonville Beach became debt-free. This happened on October 1st of 2020, so it was a great milestone for my predecessor, Mayor Latham, to be able to celebrate. But it took decades of hard work by staff and the councils prior to us to hit that milestone. So we were debt-free as of October 1st. And then also among Mayor Latham's last couple weeks in office, he got to see the designation of Jacksonville Beach as a Purple Heart City. And we also moved our war memorials to Oceanfront Park. So that's the park that's at about 6th Avenue South. So there was a big event, outdoor celebration where we had Purple Heart honorees in attendance, as well as several other military groups there to honor the designation of that area, as well as the city to be a Purple Heart City. And I don't think, hopefully nobody missed Deck the Chairs. This just came down, and when you look out at the Latham Plaza area, it looks like probably how all our living rooms look after we take the Christmas decorations down. It's very empty now and some things missing, but it was very full of light and life. This was the 8th year of Deck the Chairs, and one really neat component, if you see in the picture here, is the big octopus that was a Beaches Go Green display demonstrating and teaching people about the impacts of single-use plastic on our oceans and elsewhere. So it was a really nice opportunity to have some education, but also in a fun, really nicely done atmosphere. And I would say, I don't know if anybody would agree with this, but I think this was their best year yet. The displays were amazing. Maybe it's because we had some extra time since we weren't doing as much out and about, that the groups really put their A game forward in putting some great displays together. So congratulations to Curtis and all the Deck the Chairs volunteers, as well as Anne-Marie Moquin and Beaches Go Green for just a job well done there. And it won't go forward. There we go. Something else worth mentioning, you also probably saw this in the news, is the small islands, and the North Florida Land Trust has gotten involved to arrange for the purchase and conservation of this land. The small islands are 1,200 acres that are just north of, just south of Cradle Creek, which you already know is preserved land. But it's, as you're coming across Butler Boulevard, if you look left, you're looking at what is known as the small islands. The person who had previously purchased those islands was trying to sell them or develop them, and thankfully the North Florida Land Trust was able to step in and help work on preserving this ecosystem. It's a really important area, as all of our marshes are for our natural resources here in our community. So they are currently doing a fundraising campaign. They are hoping to raise $350,000 to preserve that area in perpetuity. So if you are so inclined, please support that effort. And then something else that was done last year, and I believe this was at the encouragement of Councilmember Dumont, was to do an assessment of all of the parks in Jacksonville Beach. So we have an incredible park system, and really to see it all put together in the parks assessment made a really big difference to me in really understanding the full breadth. So this was done by, there were information gathered about all of our parks, as well as surveys done to people who utilize those parks. They gave ideas for improvements, recommendations, thoughts on maintenance and things like that. So I think one of the biggest things to come out of it for me was just how many parks that we have, how many of them are really underutilized. But if you see on the right-hand picture there, we have Gonzales Park, and that probably came out as the #1 opportunity to really have a special park there. So you can see even like the little walking path kind of down at the right corner, probably not the best use of space there. It's right in the middle of neighborhoods. It's a great opportunity to really do some great things where there's a ton of residents in walking and bike riding distance. We pay a lot of attention to the south end, to Sunshine Park, there with the skateboard park and everything like that, but I think we will start to spread some of that attention out, as well as a future plan for an urban trail that would help connect most of our major parks. This really fun, interesting chart will show you what we're going to be working on in the next couple of years. So our city manager, who's been there for 2 years this month, has put together this Gantt chart in order to help prioritize and guide the major work of the city council. So we've done some things already, so we're excited to put those in the done column, but what we're really going to be tackling in the next few months for the council is a strategic plan, which will include a mission and a vision for our city going forward. He started that already by doing some listening sessions with citizens and to compile some of those findings. So we've got a lot of work here. None of these are really small items, and they are kind of all ordered that way for a reason, but you can see the elections are noted because we're really kind of taking things into your increments, which makes a lot of sense. The other thing, and I think everybody who's a Beaches Watch member or would be interested in, is the Citizen Academy down there towards the bottom of the chart, and that's something that will be coming once we kind of get through COVID. Look how far I got in this presentation before I said COVID. I was going to try not to say it at all, but here we are. Downtown redevelopment is a huge priority for all of us, and especially those that ran this last time. We are working on hiring a CRA coordinator. You can see the job description there. Somebody who will be solely dedicated to our community redevelopment areas, which we have downtown as well as in the south end. One thing I'm really excited about, and you guys will see this very soon, is the redevelopment of the Campeche Bay and the Ruby Beach property. So believe that you're going to see some major happenings next week, and the middle picture there is a rendering of what that developer anticipates that new complex looking like. So it'll be a multi-use complex. There'll be restaurants and retail and things like that. It's going to be a really exciting change for Jacksonville Beach. You're going to hear a lot more about the legislative session, it sounds like, next month. So I do want to say the biggest thing that we're always working on is preserving home rule. And I want to recognize our former Mayor Latham, Councilmember Sandy Golding, and Mayor Glasser were all designated as home rule heroes after the last legislative session. So it's really all about keeping the government close to the citizens. And that's what we're working all the time. Short-term rentals is going to be a big issue again for the city of Jacksonville Beach. So keep an eye out on that and help us if you can. I'm going to skip over this because I'm almost out of time and make a plug for our ways for you to stay connected. We're on Facebook. We're showing all of our meetings on YouTube, even our Zoom briefings that we're having twice a month now. And even our police department is on Facebook now. So I encourage you to follow us on social media. Go to the source for news and information. We're also getting ready to revamp our website, and we have a newsletter that goes out monthly. So having Jacob, our new communications manager there, has really helped us keep information going out to anyone who's interested in getting that information. So I encourage you to do so. And right at the end, here's some fun things that I've done so far on City Council. And I got the red sign, so I think I got it right in under the wire. Thank you all for your time, and I look forward to hearing my colleagues and answering some of your questions in a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor Hoffman, and what a great way to end. Everybody loves talks, right? Okay, before we start with Mayor Brown, I just want to remind everyone who's listening or who's on how to access the chat box so that you can enter your questions and or comments. You can either hover your mouse at the bottom of the Zoom meeting screen, or if you have touch screen capabilities, simply touch the bottom of the Zoom meeting screen and the chat icon will appear. and we are monitoring for questions and comments to be addressed at the end of the presentations. If you have any technical difficulties, please text us at 904-333-5101. Thank you. Thank you again, Mayor Hoffman. And now we will hear from Mayor Elaine Brown. Mayor Brown, you need to unmute. Mayor Brown, are you there? Can you unmute your microphone? Sandy, can you unmute Mayor Brown's microphone? Do you have capabilities to do that?
I was trying and I am not able to.
Technical difficulty.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me
There we
now?
go. Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, Beaches Watch and everybody that's watching, thank you, Beaches Watch, and a very happy new year to everybody. I'm over here at City Hall with our city manager, Stephen Wynn, and we're kind of broadcasting from here. And really and truly, I have to start this off by saying one of the things that I've been getting probably the most phone calls and certainly a lot of emails about is, are we going to be able to get the vaccine distributed here in the Beaches area? And I have to tell you that myself and the other mayors, we have been working for weeks on this. And it's come down to, of course, working with the health department, the county working with Mayor Curry. To be honest with you, everybody is trying to do it. And we don't have anything set yet. We have certainly a lot of people that are working to get it out here. The good news is, though, that Baptist Hospital has already started making appointments for some of their patients. And in talking to CVS, talking to them, they should have it the 1st of February. And as we know, in Central Florida, we've got it in Walgreens, we've got it in some Publix. So I think as we see this first rollout of a few weeks, is certainly something that we're going to have to be patient with here at the beach, but it's coming, and we're still working on trying to get it out here at the beach at the K-Mart, the old K-Mart, where they were doing the testing and still are, and to see if we can't get it there. So stay tuned, and we will try to, we'll still continue to try to do that. You know, 2020 really got off to a really bright start, and we were poised to have our best year yet. The year began with some leadership changes here in City Hall, 2 new charter officers, first being our attorney, Zach Roth. He's our city attorney. Welcomed him, of course, to the city, and there's Zach's picture up there. And then he really and truly cut his teeth in 2020, and after a nationwide search, we hired our city manager, Stephen Wynn. And Stephen was selected and began with us on January 6th, which means he just celebrated his anniversary. And to be honest with you, it's hard to believe that it's only been a year. It seems longer. You know, 2020 took a strange twist that no one could have ever expected. And it's best summed up by this picture: closed by order of police. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic hit us fast and hard. Elected officials, staff, and other levels of government were forced to make tough decisions, and using the data from the Department of Health and CDC to guide us. And we were on the phones all of the time. And I'll be honest with you, from March, things in our lives certainly changed. First came the beach closure. There were residents on both sides of the argument. Those who wanted the beach to stay open and only to residents, and those that wanted the beach to close down and keep people away. And we did close the beach down. The decision was made to close the beaches, but it was actually made by all 3 of the mayors together, along with Mayor Curry, and with guidelines from the CDC and health departments. City Hall closed to the public, and most employees were working remotely from home. The city made policy adjustments to help residents during the lockdown, waiving fees to pay by credit card or debit card, starting a pay by phone option for billing, and the second ordinance of the year was titled Neptune in Need, and created a program. We created a program to provide assistance to residents struggling to pay their utility bills. That's ongoing. We still have that. And as you know, so many people truly had a rough time and still having a rough time during this. At the height of the lockdown, nearly a third of all the utility customers were delinquent on their bills. And the city decided, we made a big decision to suspend all late fees and water shutoffs until September. By May, the city was under 30 different state, county, and local executive orders, making it difficult to navigate all of the new policies coming out of governing during a pandemic. Remember, this was new to everybody. The beach closure and city hall lockdowns were soon followed by closing bars and restaurants and even retail stores. By the end of spring and into summer, there were emergency orders activated that we had to follow. They were coming from the state, they were coming from the county, and they were here, and we made those adjustments. And I'm gonna say right here, we made those adjustments, and also none of our citizens, none of the residents here lost any services. Everything kept going, and I'm very proud of every one of the employees, and Stefan and his team are just excellent, and it really showed during these times. By May, we were working on reopening plans in conjunction with the other two beach cities. And I want to say, and I'm going to say it again in here, working in conjunction with then Mayor Latham and with Mayor Glasser is the way that we went through this pandemic together. What we did was coordinate each and every one of the closures, everything that we had to do to keep our citizens safe. We talked about it all the time, and I must tell you that there were days that we were doing 4 and 5 calls a day. The economic impact. During that same time, the cost of delinquent utility bills, and I think this is pretty interesting for everybody to really know, the cost of delinquent utility bills rose to over $250,000. The state experienced a $675.7 million deficit in sales tax revenue. And the city of Neptune Beach, we spent nearly $125,000 directly related to COVID-19 equipment. We had people working from home. We had to make changes with protection screens and the police department. One of the most alarming economic impacts was the 377% increase in unemployment in all of Duval County between April 2019 and the end of April 2020. Neptune Beach suspended most right-of-way leases and reduced garbage billing to assist the struggling downtown businesses. By June, the city had reduced its executive orders to, now this is reduced, to 27, but had seen 5,519 newly unemployed service and retail residents in Duval County. This number affects the beaches. This number affects so many people. It seems low now, but there were only 32,138 positive cases of COVID in Duval County back then. That was in June, with less than 20 positive cases at the beaches. I can't stress this enough. All of the beaches were in constant communication with each other, and leadership became more united under the spirit of collaboration and cooperation than ever before. I'm certain that we'll continue that communication going into 2021 as well, with great outcomes. There were positive effects of COVID-19 that came out of 2020. That's kind of hard for me to roll off my tongue and actually say that, but there were. The city gave out to residents, we bought a great supply of hard to get hand sanitizers, and we were able to have a drive-through, and we gave it away to citizens and let them have this, and it lasted really quite a long time, and we did it several times and on many occasions. And this was very hard for people to find, but again, we prepared a little bit for it, and we're glad to have it. The city forever changed, though, the way it communicates with residents, and will now continue to broadcast through virtual means. I have to say, Zoom is here to stay. What we're looking at right now and what we have at every one of our meetings, we certainly have great communication virtually for everyone, whether they want to come down here or they want to stay in their homes. Most important is that they can attend and they can communicate with and be a part of what we do here in government. The Darktown Parking Program, I want to touch on that just a bit because it was a couple of years in the making. In fact, it started over 7 years ago, and it got off and running, and it's turned into a highly successful program after being absorbed really into the city's organization. Neptune Beach actually runs the parking program now. We had an outside vendor when we first started, but now the program is handled in-house, and we handle it for both sides, Neptune and Atlantic. And it was created, I want you to remember that this was created after listening to residents and downtown business owners with their concerns about parking. The intent of the program was to promote turnover and stop visitors from parking all day to visit the beach by monopolizing spaces in front of businesses. We also had a lot of the people that were here that certainly worked in some of the businesses, and a lot of people that were staying at the hotels that really didn't want to park in there for $24 a day at the hotels, what have you. So, you know, we now have, and we are off to a brilliant start in 2020. There were 213,645 individual transactions. Now, these are parking people, averaging 584 transactions or turnovers a day and nearly 18,000 a month. It has been successful and will get better in 2021. Remember, that was during the pandemic and getting it started and introducing it to so many people. So, you know, it's off to a good start, and certainly now, and if we have time at the end of this, we're going to show you a short little briefing on the parking. Our personnel, we had our two-time interim city manager and director of public works, Leon Smith, retired. Leon retired after serving 44 years with the city. And after a competitive state and regional search, I can't say we replaced him because how can you replace Leon? But we have a great, great new person in Jim French, and he was selected as the director of public works, replacing Leon Smith. We have a couple of other, there you go. We have Jim French up there. And I also wanted to welcome our CFO. You saw Carl's picture up there. And we also retired Scott Wiley. Scott stepped down. Scott has served us for over 25 years. And we certainly are going to miss Scott, although he's promised us he's going to stay in touch and will be a part of our city and a contributor. But we welcome Councilor Lauren Key onto the team, and we are so glad to have Lauren. The picture you're seeing right now is kind of the opening of the Kings Road Bridge, which we certainly are proud to say that that was something that finally has been done and looks great. Looking forward in 2021, the groundbreaking on improvements at Jarbo Park. This was a long time project in the works since 2017 with major public meetings, charrettes that the public participated in that really helped to shape the master plan of the park. It's finally coming out of the ground right now and in 2021. Park improvements include new, inclusive, and acceptable playground equipment for all ages. We're adding nearly a half mile of trails throughout the park, a new bridge and access, fitness equipment with 6 new fitness stations, new basketball, pickleball, volleyball, and tennis courts. Improvements will also change the layout of the park. It's going to have an update in the landscaping, as well as planting trees and some shade trees, by the way, which have been asked for throughout the park. Before improvements to the park can begin, the city is installing, and you'll see as you drive by there, you're going to see some digging going on over on the north side of Jarbo Park. And no, it's not the most appealing, but the city demonstrates its commitment to improving the quality of service we provide to residents by updating our collections and distribution systems each year with a set of capital funds, and that is one of, this is a sanitary line that is going in on the north side of Jarbo Park, and it's very much needed. And even though we're moving the parking lot in the middle of the park, we're adding parking spaces along 5th Street and 2 ADA spaces right on Florida Boulevard and a few spaces along Bay Street. The new trails, and I'm so proud of this, in Jarbo Park will be added to the East Coast Greenway. If you all know, the East Coast Greenway goes from Maine to Key West, and it's miles of recreation for people, for biking, for jogging, for walking, whatever. And the new trails in Jarbo Park will add to the East Coast Greenway. And this was completed in 2020, and I want to mention, this was mostly done in-house. And again, during 2020, here we had people that were doing these great things, making a total of nearly 2 miles of the East Coast Greenway Trail within Neptune Beach. And it was all completed by our Public Works employees. Great savings in-house. Another major accomplishment from 2020 carrying into 2021 is the successful capital campaign for the new senior center building. Is that my red light? Am I seeing that? I gotta say that the senior center is raised over $100,000, and a shout out to Leslie Line, who has done a marvelous job. We'll be opening as soon as it is safe. And I had a couple of other things to say, but maybe we'll get it during the questioning. Thank you all, and I appreciate so much being here.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. For Neptune Beach, you're our smaller beaches city, but you guys are always doing such great stuff. So yes, we may have some time after the last presentation from our Mayor Glasser. But again, I just want to remind everyone to please use the chat box. If you have any questions or comments, we are monitoring that, and we'll be reviewing or asking those the questions after the last presentation. You can access it by hovering your mouse at the bottom of the Zoom meeting screen, or if you have touch screen capabilities, simply touch the bottom of the Zoom meeting screen and that chat icon will appear. And now to wrap up our session here, Mayor Ellen Glasser. Welcome, Mayor.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great. Well, I guess payback is appropriate because for the last few years, we have always had Mayor Latham go last, and there was never enough time. So I love the time management and appreciate the opportunity to be with you guys tonight. So thanks to the Beaches Watch team for doing this every year. And I also want to wish you all a very happy new year with 2021. I also want to congratulate Mayor Hoffman on her win as the mayor in Jacksonville Beach. And then also say a big thank you to Mayor Brown, who has really walked the gauntlet with me and with Mayor Latham over the last year, going through the pandemic here at the beaches. So I'm sharing a photo here of one of our parks in the city of Atlantic Beach. Actually, it's a preserve. It's the Tide Views Preserve, and there's Sunset Pier. And I'm sharing it because it's really, to me, it represents symbolically the sunset on 2020, which was a year that most of us are sort of glad is in the rearview mirror. But it is one of our most beautiful overlooks and one of our most beautiful parks. So what I wanted to do is just introduce you to our newly seated commission, and I was very honored to win my re-election bid, but we now have 2 new commissioners, and as you can see on the screen, we have Captain Bruce Bowl, who won his election bid. And then we have Dr. Mike Waters, who won his, and no, his jacket does not look like that in real life. I think that the images got some liberties taken with it in projecting it to you. And then Candace Kelly and Brittany Norris are holdovers from the former commission. I want to thank our former commissioners, Blythe Waters and Cindy Anderson, who did not run for re-election, but I want to thank them for their service. And so we're really excited about getting to work with the newly seated commission. So I'm just going to point out, and I guess it was important enough for Jacksonville Beach to make it a referendum, that we do operate under the council manager form of government. So basically, the elected officials act sort of like a board of directors. Our job is to legislate, listen to our residents, approve the budget, and help to direct policy and initiatives. But the day-to-day running of the city is up to the city manager, and that's why that position is so important in this form of government. So we have 3 charter officials, and they work for the commission directly. So we have Shane Corbin, who's completed a little bit more than a year on a job, and boy, that was a trial by fire, having COVID be his first year as city manager. He brings a wealth of planning experience to the job. Donna Bartle, one of our longest serving employees in Atlantic Beach, does a fabulous job as our city clerk. And then our city attorney is Brenna Durden, who's been with me at least the whole time that I've been the mayor, and we have a great working relationship, all of us. And so as I talked about with the council manager form of government, the city manager really runs the city, and we have just a fabulous team. And I'm not going to read all of their names and their titles because I'm going to sort of mention their contributions as I go through the presentation. And so these are our department heads. We rely on them to sort of execute the vision of the commission and to serve our residents. Now, Steve Swann is on the top right of your screen. He looks a little bit different. He's not technically a department head, but he is our city engineer, and I'll talk a little bit about him too. But these guys do a fabulous job. We're super grateful to them, and last year was not an easy year for any of them. So just a sort of introduction to Atlantic Beach, and I don't really need to tell you all this because you already know, but each one of our beach cities is uniquely different. I mean, you see how Jacksonville Beach is different from Atlantic Beach. We really are all about sort of a residential quality of life. But when I talk to people about our city, my little elevator speech really comes down to a few talking points. And I talk about our rich history where Henry Flagler had the vision for the Florida East Coast Railway starting right in our city in Atlantic Beach and going down to Key West. I mean, he recognized the charm of our area. And then the other things that I think are so special about Atlantic Beach are 21 beach accesses. That's phenomenal. And then we have 18 active and passive parks and preserves, some of which have been acquired over time just because of people that had the vision to know we needed to preserve those things. So I'm really proud of our city, and it's a place where people want to live. So let's get to government and the basics. I just want to emphasize that our philosophy in city government is that we work for the residents. It's all about what our residents and our stakeholders need, and we serve all of Atlantic Beach, not just east side or west side, but everyone. So I put up a little flyer for what will be our annual priority setting and visioning workshop. We've done this as long as I've been the mayor, and this will be an opportunity for our new commission to sit down and sort of decide what is going to be the most important things for the city manager and the department heads to proceed with. So that's a really important part of what we do as a commission. And then the other pieces about sort of basic government services are transparency. And we try really hard to make known to our residents what we're working on. We also have different platforms that we communicate on, whether it's the website, Facebook, Nextdoor, email, we have subscriber lists. We also have Safer Watch. That's a crime app to let people know about safety issues. And so if people don't know what's going on, it's because it probably hasn't risen to their level of concern, but we do our best to communicate, and we have come a long way in the last 4 years. Public engagement is so important to what we do. I wish that more people would pick up the phone and call me or email me instead of comment on social media. That seems to be the way that people want to discuss issues these days. That makes it very difficult for us, given sunshine laws, when we start having conversations on social media. But that's just sort of the nature of what we're dealing with in today's world. So citizen involvement, we have a number of committees. We encourage people to get involved in those efforts, to be a part of what we do. And then the last thing on this slide is our commitment to civility. For the last 3 years, we have had a written contract with each other to try to be as civil as possible in conducting our business. I expect that we will have another one as we move a little bit further into the new year. So again, a little bit of bragging about Atlantic Beach. I mean, we are all about our residential quality of life. I've mentioned our coastal assets, but anyone that's been living at the beaches knows how much we take pride in our maritime tree canopy. And in fact, I hear from many, many people that move here that that's the reason that they moved to Atlantic Beach. It's so unique, the old growth trees, and you know, right now, in fact, our commission's direction is a no net loss policy. So even though some trees come down as the result of development on private property, we try to replenish that. In fact, we planted like 100 trees in the last year in a partnership with the city of Jacksonville. So the recreation opportunities are great. We are also a Purple Heart city and very veteran friendly. ADA friendly, our parks, you know, we've made that a priority to make them as accessible as possible. And a lot of community center programming, which actually does sort of reach outside of the city limits of Atlantic Beach and into the North Beaches area where maybe the kids and seniors don't have the same opportunities as they do in other areas. So I'm thankful that Mayor Brown talked about COVID-19. I won't get into it too much. We are under an ongoing state of emergency. We're having hybrid public meetings. She talked a little bit about vaccinations. I think there are other healthcare networks that are also offering them in addition to Baptist. That would be Mayo, UF, the VA, and I think people who are frustrated with the appointment system, which will improve, should give those options a try if you're over 65. So we have had 17 employees test positive, but after we reopened City Hall the first time, we have not had to close it. A couple of the opportunities that we found during COVID-19 were starting the Dig Local Green Market, first in the City Hall parking lot and then at Jack Russell Park. It's been a huge success. And we also, I think we're the first, maybe the only beach city to create a small business relief program where we used about $50,000 of our Better Jacks money and used a system and screened some of our small businesses to give them a little bit of help because it was very important to us. Okay, so let me talk by the numbers. We have a balanced budget this year. We have about $15 million in our general fund. Our property taxes, our property values increased significantly last year, which helped to offset some of the revenue shortfalls that we thought we might experience with COVID-19. We still have the lowest millage rate of the 3 beach cities. We have a healthy reserve fund, you know, we continually try to work hard to manage with what we've got because we really don't get what I believe is our fair share from the city of Jacksonville in terms of how much we get back for our tax dollars. We only get about 18 cents of every tax dollar that comes back to the beach. So we have to work hard to manage that. Okay, so I won't talk too much about this pie chart. It does sort of illustrate the green piece. It represents ad valorem taxes, which is the largest piece of the pie in terms of our general fund revenues. We are very fortunate that it is such an attractive and appealing place to live. People want to live here, and property taxes continue to go up. So some of our priority efforts, now this is not just in the last year, but I wanted to set the stage for where we are, because I'm really proud of the work that our city and our departments have done. In the last few years, we have completed a Parks Master Plan update. That took about 2 years. We worked with the National Park Service. We did inventories of all our parks, and we came up with really an aspirational plan for what are the kinds of things that we want to see, and it would really help in the priority setting process and the budget process. We updated our comprehensive plan. We updated our stormwater master plan. We updated our land development regulations. All of these were huge projects. So we've got those done. What's pending now is we will be reviewing a tree ordinance update very soon. We've been working on that for about a year, but we had to take a little bit of a break because of the state legislature trying to tell us what we couldn't do with tree trimming. So we're going to put that back on the agenda. We have taken up a bike pedestrian connectivity plan. We had our first workshop on this week. And I don't know about the other beach cities as much as Atlantic Beach, but we are seeing bike traffic increasing every day. And so we want our streets to be as friendly as possible to walkers and to pedestrians. We want to connect parks. We want to connect paths to schools. We want to connect them to commercial corridors, and we want to make that more and more part of the lifestyle. And we will be seeing a complete streets policy in the future. Public safety. Okay, I know I'm terrible at time management. I like to talk a lot. So we've welcomed our new police chief, Vic Walilo. He's been on the force for a long time. Congratulations to Sheriff Michelle Cook, who won her election in Clay County. We have extremely short response times. We had some staffing issues, but we're almost back to full strength with our staffing. You can see in the photo here, like the other beach cities, we have got a station dog that was provided to us courtesy of Canines for Warriors. And our station dog is named C4, and he's really great for everybody's state of mind. We have purchased or set aside the money for body cameras for all of our officers. We are working on our officer wellness programs and other community engagement activities. So very quickly, some of the big projects on public works, we're continuing to work on aquatic gardens and the drainage problems there. We had phase 1 that was partially funded by state funding, and we're looking for a round 2 right now, but that's a big one. We're gonna do a reconstruction on Donner Road. We have completed a drainage project and a new sidewalk along Seminole Road. We are looking at the Donner Park basketball and pickleball court and installing parking there. We're going to put a bathroom at Veterans Park, and we're upgrading our dog park at near Aquatic Gardens. Public utilities. We're going to be doing some spending this year, and we took our money from the enterprise funds. These are self-supporting funds. It's not out of the general fund, to deal with some infrastructure issues. But one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to try to do conversions from septic to sewer, where there remains some systems that are on septic tanks in the Marsh Oaks area. But the other projects are some major projects that we are going to do to improve our infrastructure. And I won't get into them too much, but if you look around at, especially at our wastewater treatment facility, you can see that they really do need to be upgraded. The picture you see is of our treatment facility, and that's a clarifier drive. We're looking at digesters. We're looking at tank rehabilitation, lots of things that just have to be done. Okay, so we're all about flood and storm resilience. So we've worked really closely with our city engineer on some of these plans. We have an adaptation grant. We finished one vulnerability assessment. We're going to do an update to that. And this is a legislative priority of ours. So we're working with our team to make sure that that gets attention in Tallahassee. So environmental leadership. One of our most active committees is our Environmental Stewardship Committee. They were in fact meeting tonight next door to me. And we're having an Arbor Day celebration this Friday. I talked about tree plantings, but these folks do great work in terms of highlighting attention to supporting the 4 R's, single-use plastic, sea level rise, coastal resiliency, and our LEED certification program. So, recreation and community. Another active citizen group is our Cultural Arts and Recreation Advisory Committee. And we also have a youth council in Atlantic Beach that I spend a lot of time with them in terms of their programming. So we're continuing to do after school programming and tutoring. We do meal delivery to some folks who are in need. We're building up our virtual program. We have a yearly grant program that we provide to local nonprofits that provide services to our residents. And we added a senior grant program to some of our local nonprofits because we appreciate what they do for our residents so much. And I'm getting to the end here. The Mayport corridor continues to be a priority. We're going to see a couple of $1 million in safety improvements from FDOT in the coming year. We have an East Coast Greenway plan. We are on the list of priority projects from the North Florida Transportation Planning Organization. That Donner Road reconstruction will be a gateway into the city off of the Mayport corridor. If you've been on the corridor, you've seen the public art, you've maybe attended some of the events that have taken place that are very community minded. And I think we'll learn a little bit more about more directions, additional direction when we have our visioning session with the new commission coming up shortly. But that remains a priority. And a little bit on equity. It's been a difficult year, and I'm going to say that equity is not limited to racial equity. It has to do with seniors and kids. It has to do with East versus West. We just want to make sure that in Atlantic Beach, we are treating people equitably and that people have equal opportunities. We started a diversity training program for our employees. We've updated police policies and gotten body cameras. We will be resuming community workshops as soon as it's safe to do so to get feedback from our residents. We're doing a historical capital spending review to make sure that we're doing the same things throughout our city and treating people fairly. And we're also looking at our programming in terms of what are we offering for our kids and our seniors. So those are all things to look forward to as soon as it's a little bit safer.
Thank you, Mayor Glasser.
All right, I just want to thank you all very much.
You're okay. Thank you. We did allot some extra time for this meeting because we know typically it goes beyond the time of an hour. So if we can have all three mayors please unmute your mics and restore your video, or Sandy can do that for us. Because we have we have a number of questions. I want to ask my able timer to please set the time for response from each mayor to 2 minutes so that we can make sure we can get through these questions. I see Mayor Hoffman already going, 2 minutes. Maybe that's too long. Maybe I almost said a minute. I almost said a minute. So
flashbacks to the election or the candidate forum.
Yes, right. So please
do not have a 2 minute card, just letting you know.
Oh, 1 minute card. Okay. But we will show some deference in that. But we do want to make sure we give everyone equal time, as much time to respond and try and go through all the questions. If we don't happen to get to all the questions in this allotted time, the mayors will have access to questions, and we encourage you to please respond to the specific questions. So without further ado,
2 minute timer.
2 minute, 1 minute, or 2 minutes. You only have a minute, right?
I could
Okay,
let
so
a minute
Just
left.
ask. We'll figure it out.
okay. All right. So this was not addressed at all, and I just want to bring this up because it has been in the news. It is something that I think is concerning to us. But given the recent attacks on our nation's capital last week and threats of local, state, and national attacks, are there any concerns regarding safety against potential riots here at the beaches with regard to the upcoming presidential inauguration? And if so, what safety precautions are being considered, and what precautions should our citizens be doing?
Well, can I go?
Yes, absolutely, but please.
All right, I'll try to keep it short, but you guys know my background as retired FBI, and they, of course they're investigating the riots in Washington and are doing lots of interviews, and many people have been charged. But I did get a communication from the special agent in charge of the Jacksonville office, just reassuring us that while we are on heightened alert, because I think that the threats are against the state houses everywhere, not whether or not they were going to challenge the electoral college vote. So it's like, it's fair game everywhere, but that there really are no specific threats that we know of here. But I know that our police departments, just like they did throughout the last year with various big events, are talking to each other and planning with each other. And I would just say that if anyone knows of any person that they think has information that would be helpful to law enforcement, this is not the time to sit on it. So just please share that. I mean, I think we need to just go about our daily lives and try to be civil to one another because tensions are high. But I'm not aware of any specific threats, but please don't hesitate to report that information as you learn it.
I'd jump in there too if I could. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. First thing is that, Mayor Glasser, with your background, et cetera, you know, that's certainly very helpful in talking to the special agent here. But I have to tell you that all three of our police chiefs work together with communication, also with Duval County and with Sheriff Williams. And during all of the things that have happened during 2020, including some of the marches and some of the, things that we had down in Jack's Beach and here in both Atlantic and Neptune that were marching and protesting. They were friendly, but it was great communication. It was something that we couldn't ever say that we were caught off guard. We were more than prepared. So I would like for people at the beaches to feel very good about the fact that they are absolutely engaged with one another. They're engaged with social media, and they are engaged with information that comes from other government entities. And as Mayor Glasser said, if you know of or hear something, please let us know. Let the police know, and stay safe, which we will do. But the most important thing is I feel very good about the communications that we have with each beach, with downtown, and with the agencies that they all work with.
And I'd like to just add on to that. I certainly defer to Mayor Glasser's expertise and her contacts, but we haven't heard anything specific as far as the beaches are concerned. But I will say that one of the really important things that we all need to do is consider the source of our information. So it's not just the communications within the departments, which our three police departments do a great job, our three cities do a great job communicating with each other, but we also do a great job communicating and can do a better job communicating with our citizens. So I would just say, if you're seeking information, if you hear something, go to all of our police departments have a Facebook page. We're all trying to push information out to our citizens as much as we can. So that is not just now, that's during a hurricane, that's during anything. I'm just amazed at the local rumors that go around and how quickly they spread. So please rely on that direct from the city and from the police department information here at the beaches. And Jack's Ready is another great resource for Duval County for all of those things as well.
Excellent, thank you. And that's sort of as a follow-up to another question I just saw was, do we have or is there a rumor control line for the beaches? So I'm assuming that's those particular methods of communication on social media that you were referring to, Mayor Hoffman?
I would say that I don't know what a rumor control line specifically would be, but I would say if you hear something and it sounds a little off, you know, it might be. So try to verify it before you spread that information. Please don't be part of the problem if you can avoid it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Next question. We'd love to have a comprehensive way to reduce the amount of single-use plastic and trash in our barrier islands. What are the obstacles in getting an island composting and recycling program to include businesses and restaurants And would you consider tax incentives to trash reduction? That's open to all three mayors, obviously.
Well, I'll start. Right before COVID hit, we were talking about recycling initiatives, and we were talking about reaching out to businesses along our commercial corridors to try to incentivize them to have recycling programs. And then it just was something we just had to put on the back burner. For Atlantic Beach anyway, I mean, there are a lot of concerns about what is the best way to proceed. I mean, with recycling, I mean, you can recycle, but it's not a great business model for waste disposal companies now. I mean, there's no money in it anymore. So we're having some difficulty trying to get something through our contracts with our waste disposal. And finally, I'm just going to say that I think, at least in Atlantic Beach, I think the best posture moving forward is we got to get our own house in order in Atlantic Beach. So the things that we care about, we need to not have single-use plastic at city venues. We need to promote those good practices. And I mean, we're going to have recycling bins throughout Atlantic Beach and at Town Center that Beaches Go Green has gotten from a grant. So that's really exciting. So I think we have to be good stewards ourselves for the city, and then the kids get it, and then as the next generation comes up, they're going to be a lot smarter about their choices. But we need to start with our accountability in the city.
Great, thank you.
I would ditto to that, but also one of the key challenges with recycling. Well, first of all, I think we all know that single-use plastic recycling is almost pointless at this point. So really the goal needs to be reducing usage, and the recycling that we do have, even when you have a common area recycling bin, if trash ends up in it, then that spoils the entire container for recycling. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen. We've become very accustomed to the convenience of plastic bottles. And in the case of plastic bags, there's a state level preemption. So that's one of those local control issues that a few years ago I supported the Surfrider Foundation, and our city, and I think others, passed a resolution to lift the preemption that we couldn't do anything about plastic bags, not even really have a conversation about their usage. And if you've walked on the beach or in a park, you see plastic bags floating around like that movie. You know what I'm talking about. So I think that there's a lot of work to be done at the state level, as well as simply the local level education. And I'm glad that we have Beaches Go Green out here to help do that.
Thank you. Mayor Brown?
I'd like to, Marie, if I could, ditto to, we do have work to do, but I'd like to say that one of the things that we're really proud of, we just took possession of 15 smart bins. These are recycling bins that will actually let us know when they are full, and they will have instructions on them as to plastic and to glass. And a big shout out, of course, to Beaches Go Green and to Anne Marie Moquin for all the work that she does here and the education. And it really is a matter of educating. But when these are convenient for people and they're right there and they can see what the containers will actually accept, I think it's going to help as well.
Excellent, thank you. And I think Beaches Watch, we're looking at doing something specific to recycling, kind of removing the myths of recycling and what is acceptable and what isn't, and why, as Mayor Hoffman said, once that recycling bin gets tainted, it all goes to the landfill. So I don't think residents are really aware of that exactly. So more to come on that. So Mayor Hoffman, this goes to you specifically. It's a question about the small islands that were recently purchased, and it says, although they'll never be able to be developed, so why are we paying the buyer a quick profit?
Well, we're not paying the buyer. The North Florida Land Trust is handling that purchase. He was, it's probably longer than the 2 minutes is going to allow, but he was definitely marketing this property for vacation homes and future development. And there's really no telling who would have bought it and what their plan would have been. They certainly would have been limited by our land development code, but he was offering it and had an appraisal. I think it was something like $1.4 million. Don't quote me on that, but it was high, a lot higher than the ultimate arrangement for the sale. And I don't know what the actual agreed upon sale price was, but I do feel good about the opportunity for North Florida Land Trust to be able to take ownership of this land and preserve it in perpetuity. And I mean, just driving over Butler Boulevard, you look right and you see homes built out, I mean, just seemingly over water, and you look left and you see a really natural area. And I'm really excited that we have the opportunity to preserve that.
Thank you. Mayor Brown, this would go to you. What is the status of the K-Mart Center area?
The status
As far as development?
Okay. Yeah, the status is that we are still with our planning director reviewing some of the plans and for the Lucky's and the remodeling and revitalization of that end of the shopping center. What they have shown us so far is really very nice. We're very pleased with it, and we're hoping that's going to be moving forward. The other end of it, the large box, we have nothing that has come to us recently on it, but we feel that 2021, yeah, here we are, that this is going to be the year that hopefully we can see some great things happening over there. And what they've shown us so far and what they'd like to do with the end where Lucky's was, putting in a new Publix and having it with an outdoor dining, kind of like Health Foods has done, but looks very, very beautiful. So we'll just kind of see what happens as that moves along.
Is there a timeline as far as the new Publix going into where Lucky's
No, it's
was?
actually it's kind of in the pipes right now.
Okay, all right. So this is a question to all the mayors. Traditional lawns north in commercial and residential applications are devastating to our groundwater and native wildlife. What are your thoughts on changing over your city property to native and pesticide-free zones, as well as tax incentives to, quote, rewilding, end quote, yards and improvements for climate change and drainage?
Well, I can address a piece of that, probably not directly answer the question, but just say that we are really looking at a Florida-friendly landscape materials palette when we look at our public spaces. So that's something that we're focusing on. We also, we don't use Roundup in our public facilities in Atlantic Beach. And again, I talk about keeping your house in order. You know, it would be tough for us to say, oh, you need to do this or do that if we're not doing it ourselves. And so we're just trying to be an incubator for ideas and get the ball rolling on this. I think what the person asking the question is going to is a little further down the road for that. And maybe another mayor can respond to it, but we're doing a few little things.
Thank you.
Okay, put me on.
Mayor Brown?
Yeah, one of the things that we have been talking about and that the state is actually moving on to is reclaimed water and irrigating with reclaimed water, treating it and reclaiming it. And that's something that I think that the state has been pushing for an awful long time in certain areas. And there are a lot of areas of Florida that I know of that have mandated reclaimed water in new developments, et cetera. But we are, as a city, actually we're in discussions now about water treatment and usable reclaimed water.
Mayor Hoffman, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I rewilded my lawn a long time ago. I didn't know there was a term for that. So I didn't do it on purpose, but I would say Jacksonville Beach has a long way to go with that. And so I will say though, our golf course, which, you know, probably one of the more overly landscaped places in any community, we have a real expert in landscaping and all of those things with Trevor Hughes, and they recently did take part in the Jacksonville tree program. So we were able to plant, I think it was 200 relatively mature trees around the golf course. So that was a great deal for us. They were free through the city's program, and we are looking to continue that in the as we look at our parks and our different green spaces around the community. So I think we're heading in the right direction, but we definitely have a long way to go there.
Excellent. And given the time, we have, it's 8:14, but this was asked earlier, and but it's to Mayor Brown and Mayor Hoffman. Mission House recently tried to release lanterns as a fundraiser. They were not aware of the environmental issues with doing so. Where are you on passing the ordinance that was done in 11/2019 in Fernandina Beach and in 3/2020 in Atlantic Beach?
Do you want to do a different final question? Because I did already message with the Surfrider about that. I had not seen that legislation, but I asked her to send that to me. So I think Mayor Brown probably did the same. I wasn't aware of the legislation, but I was aware of the Mission House fundraising effort there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was not aware of the fundraising mission either, Marie, but I can assure you we have passed the ordinance and we feel it's a good one. And I feel it's something that, you know, as we get the information out to people, it is such a great protection for our sea life, for turtles, for, you know, just making sure that we have clean waterways. So we passed this in our last ordinance.
It's up for our second.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's up for our second reading. And so far it's passed through. We'll have it done on the 19th.
Okay, and is that to prohibit the releasing of lanterns, or
Yes.
I'm not?
Yes, it is. Any kinds of
Okay.
balloons and
Balloons.
springs and plastic, etc.
Okay, excellent. Mayor
So the
Glasser?
question wasn't to me, but I like to talk about this. So, you know, it's been a really tough year, and I visited at Mission House today. And, you know, if you, regardless of the fundraiser, if you want to donate clothes, blankets, food, money, time, shelter, you know, a lot of people don't have it as good as many of us do. And so that's for you, Karina.
Mayors, thank you. Thank you so much. As always, as I said, this is one of our most well-attended meetings that we have. It's the most informative. We really appreciate all of your hard work, all of the elected officials that work with you every day, the staff that works with you in the cities to make it a place where we want to live and grow. Again, if I didn't get to your questions, the panelists have access to that. They can respond. We can also send in the questions as well. I think I touched on the major ones. There may be a couple that we were not able to get to, but thank you all again for your time and for your service. As always, we have a short meeting survey, so please, if you can, just take a few minutes to fill that out. Again, it gives us feedback. It makes sure that we are bringing programs that are relevant to you and that are informative. And as you can see on the screen, you can see where to watch this recorded meeting. Please follow us on Facebook, visit our website, join our organization, Renew, or make a donation. Thank you all again, Lady Mayors, and we will wish you all a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.